Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I'm sharing with you my new reading vlog for the month of September. So this is going to be the first of the Orilium Magical Readathon reading vlogs, as well as there's going to be a whole month theme for what I'll be reading over the month. So September marks my 10-year YouTube anniversary. It's actually, I think, September 3rd or 4th, so very early in September. And so it's already passed by time I'm actually filming this video, and it'll definitely be way past by time you see this video. But it is my YouTube anniversary month. It is also my birthday month, so I'm hoping to do a couple of fun things over the month, and I'll be working on the Orilium Magical Readathon as well. This is my last semester, focusing on the Master of Elements career or degree, and so I definitely want to try to get everything accomplished for that. And I did also want to kind of incorporate a theme to my reading over the month. I had come up with this idea a couple months ago, and I was just like, I think that would be really fun. And so I was able to work in a bunch of the books that I thought would fit this theme nicely into my Orilium Magical Readathon prompts. And so I thought, you know what, let's try this. And so that's what we're going to be doing over the course of this video and over the next month. So it is the end of the first week of September, the day that I am filming this intro for you. It is actually September 6th. And I have already started on one of the books. So for the Master of Elements, there I think are 8 books that I need to read to complete my classes for the fall semester. So yeah, I did already start one book. I started on the first because I didn't want to lose any time. I'm combo reading this book, so it is going by rather quickly. And I didn't realize that I'd be this far into the book by the time I sat down to talk to you. But work has been crazy. And I'll get into that after we go through all of the books. But in any case, the book that I'm currently reading is Wintersong by S.J. Jones. So this, I believe, is kind of a labyrinth-inspired story. And that is kind of where my theme comes in. My theme of reading for the month of September is going to be Labyrinth. So Labyrinth-inspired books. I'll probably watch the movie as well. And so, yeah, there's several Labyrinth-inspired books that I've been meaning to read and just have been putting off. So I decided that September is going to be the month. And so I started with this one. I've had this book for a while. This at the top says it's the last night of the year. Now the days of winter begin, and the Goblin King rides abroad, searching for his bride. And so we basically follow a girl who's the eldest in her family. She has a younger sister and a younger brother, and she's very musical. But her brother is the one that is being brought up to forge ahead in his musical studies, and their father is also very musical, and she's kind of the black sheep of the family, and not only the things that she likes, but also in her looks. So her grandmother really still believes in all of the legends and things of days before, and still does rituals and things, and kind of her siblings grew out of that, and she feels like she's 19 years old, I think, in this story, that she's too old to believe in any of that anymore. And so she kind of disregards the ritual for the year, and then her sister gets taken by the Goblin King, and so she starts on this quest to get her sister back. And I think that's pretty much all I'm going to tell you. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes on in this book, but it has a lot of musical reference. There's a lot of musical elements. Our main character, Liesel, is also very musical, and so there's a lot of terminology and things interspersed throughout. Plus, this, I believe, is either set in Germany or Austria. There's a lot of German in the language. And so there are 2 glossaries in the back. One has your musical terms and things. And because I've grown up in music, I played music for a good portion of my life, I didn't need those, but I definitely needed the pronunciation guide for the German stuff. And so that helped a lot. And so, yeah, I am on page 340. These chapters do not have numbers on them. I don't think there is a chapter guide in the front. There is not. See, and even the very beginning, the very start of this, it says overture, which is a musical term as well. And so there's lots of musical terminology. I am, like I said, combo reading this, so I am listening to some of it during my lunch break, and then in the evenings I've been reading physically. For me, this is just okay. I definitely get the references to Labyrinth. You have the Goblin King, right? There's mentions of the underground, and then there's this girl who's trying to get a sibling back. In this case, the sibling is not a child. He's not an infant or a toddler like in the Labyrinth movie, but her sister is a teenager, just a few years younger. I think she's 16 in this story, but there's definitely things that I can relate to the Labyrinth movie that I know, and so that has been nice. But the story in itself is not very compelling for me to want to pick it up all the time. I feel like I am reading it out of duty because I need to get this done. I don't know if I would DNF it had I not been using it for a readathon prompt. I mean, it's okay. It's that same thing that I had from the previous vlog, where it's just like, it's enjoyable, but at the same time, I'm just not into it, I guess. Also, the main character here, I don't like her. I don't like her at all. She is supposed to be 19 years old, and you'd think that her being the eldest sibling, and, you know, with the duties of taking care of her siblings, and, you know, being responsible, having, like, chores and things, that she'd be a bit more grown up, I guess. But there are things that she does in this story that I feel like she's just like acting like a child. She has a very poor self-confidence level, especially when it comes to her looks. She knows that she's not as beautiful as her sister, and she has talent, but it's not like able to be let out because of the suppression of women in society at that time. And it does have a definite like historical feel to the story, which, you know, I don't really enjoy, even though this is fantastical. But she has, you know, poor self-esteem, and I can relate. You know, I had the same problem, especially, you know, growing up and having relatives make comments to me about how come I can't be more like my sister, how, you know, I'm not as pretty as my sister, and things like that. So I get it. I get how those things affect you, but at the same time, she wants to be desired by someone. And there's a point in this book where she basically wants sex. She wants sex. She wants sex, and then she gets refused, and she throws a big tantrum over it. And I'm like, do people really do that? Because I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. Especially from someone who's 19 years old. But yeah. So we finally got like past that, but up until that point, she's just like very childish, you know, throwing tantrums. Not really like, there's not much to her that draws me to want to like root for her as a character. And so I can't like, I don't know. I guess that's part of the reason why I'm just not into the story as much as I could be. But yeah, I've only got a little bit left, so we'll see where this goes. And I'm going to use that one for one of my prompts. I don't even have my prompts here. One of my prompts is single POV, and this story is definitely told in Liesel's perspective. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that one finishes up. It is part of a duology. I do have the second part, so I would probably at this point say that I'm going to finish the duology, but it's not going to be this month because I have too many other things that I need to read. So that's where I am with that. That's the only thing that I'm currently reading at this point. I did, though, try to put in a little bit of work on one of my other prompts. So one of the other prompts is to pick 3 books, to read the first chapter of those books, and then pick one of those books to read for the prompt. So I decided to go ahead and pick 3 cozy mysteries because there's a cozy mystery that I meant to read in July or June or even August because this series has other books in it that are like fit to holidays that I would like to read during those holidays, and I can't do it if I can't read the first one. So that's what kind of inspired me to pick 3 cozy mysteries, and in hoping that I would pick this particular one for the prompt. So that book is Skinny Dipping from with Murder. This is an Otter Lake mystery by Orilium Wallace. So this is the first book in the Otter Lake series. This one is about a woman who her mother asks her to come home to help with something, and she ends up going back home. Something happened when she was a teen, and that's kind of where the skinny dipping reference comes in. It says when she was a teenager, she fell prey to a practical joke that left her near naked in Otter Lake's annual Raspberry Social. So I read the first chapter in this, and basically you get the gist of what happens. It doesn't actually tell you what the back of this said in regards to that incident, but it is kind of referenced in some of the things that happened in the first chapter and her on her way to see her mother. But that's where the first chapter ends, so you don't actually know why her mother asked her to come home. I don't even think in the back here. Oh yes, it does. It does tell you in the back on the summary why her mom's asking her to come home, but you don't get that in the first chapter. So I read the first chapter of that last night. I also tried the first chapter of Glazed Murder by Jessica Beck. So this is a donut shop mystery, and it is the first in a series. So this one is about a woman who was married to a like celebrity, and they went through a divorce, and with her like settlement from the divorce, she decides to open up a donut shop, where she purchases the local donut shop and has been like using that to be like therapy for her. So she makes donuts and she sells them and things like that. And then because of the nature of the business, she's usually there from really early in the morning, like prepping all the stuff and starting to make the donuts, right? And somebody drops off a dead body in the front of her donut shop, and the victim happens to be one of her regular patrons. So that all happens in the first chapter. I didn't even read the summary for this one, but this has also been one that has been sitting on my shelves for a long time, and I really wanted to get to it, and so I decided to go ahead and read that one. So I did the first chapter of that, and then the last one I decided to try was also a first in a series, because I figured why not. We've got first in a series, right? We've got Murder by the Book, which is by Lauren Elliott. This is the first book in the Beyond the Page Bookshop mystery series. So this one is about a woman who opens a bookstore that kind of caters to like the experience of being in a bookstore. She does like offer coffee, but it's like complimentary to like give the ambiance of wanting to be around books and just sitting there and reading and, you know, being a comfy, cozy place. Well, she's just like getting ready to open, and her neighbor is very like crotchety. She's a crotchety old lady. She doesn't like that this store is being opened next door to her. She's very like unsociable, very crude when speaking to our main character. And so we kind of start this story off where she's just getting ready to open, and she has this like run-in with this crotchety old neighbor who owns, I think it's like a bakery or something. I can't remember, but she owns another business like next door, and then she gets visited by another woman who has a tea shop. She sells tea. And so in conversing with that woman, they get to talking, and then something happens in the back alley, and that's kind of where the first chapter ends. And so, yeah, this one was okay as well. And so I kind of feel like of the 3 cozy mysteries that I did try, Glazed Murder was the only one that you really got like thrown into what's going on with this like mystery. Like this one, you don't really get much. You just get really introduced to the characters and her business and things like that. And then in this one, again, you don't get much. You get introduced to the character. She like gets to see her mom, just like gets to see her mom when the first chapter ends, and it kind of alludes to what happened to her when she was a kid. But that's it. So actually, of these 3, just reading the first chapter, Glazed Murder is the one that really piqued my interest, and I think it's because we really already got to the murder. As you know, cozy mysteries deal with amateur sleuths, and so all 3 of these are going to have some kind of mystery element to them. But this one was definitely the most compelling as far as the first chapter. So this is the one that I'm going to be reading for the prompt. That being said, I do want to try to fit this in somewhere. If not in September, definitely in October, or at the beginning of October, because the second book in the series has to do with like pumpkins or something like that. I have it here actually. I have all of them, actually. So it's pumpkin picking with murder. So you can see there's like a jack-o'-lantern here. And this one, probably shouldn't be reading the back because I'll probably get spoiled. But this one has a fall festival. So definitely wanted to read that one, like in the season. And then I think the next one is Snowed In with Murder, which obviously is winter. So, you know, these kind of like go in order. I think the next one is Rang in the Year with Murder, which is like New Year's. And then I think we've got Down the Aisle, which again brings you more towards summer or June. Yeah, I think that's right. And then the last one I have here is Haunted Hayride. And I think this one takes me back to fall. So I'm hoping that I really like this series because I've got all of these books. Now, granted, I got all of the books at a local book, Friends of the Library book sale. And so, yeah, but these are like perfect, like holiday tide reading. And so I thought, you know, I keep thinking every year, you're going to pick this up. You're going to pick this up. You're going to pick this up. And I never do. So this is the year that it's going to happen. Hold me to it because it's going to happen this year. I need some holiday reading. And so that's where I am with that. I definitely have built in some manga into my reading for the Orilium Magical Readathon. I had to because there was no way as getting through 8 novels, especially not with my reading amount being so low. It's probably the lowest it's been since I've been on BookTube. But, you know, that's just kind of where things are. And like I said before, I am struggling with trying to find books that I'm really, like, compelled to read. And so, yeah, I thought maybe going back to my roots with cozy mysteries might, like, jumpstart it again for me. But I also thought that because I enjoy Labyrinth so much, that maybe reading some Labyrinth inspired reads and watching the movie this month would, like, help. And so, yeah, I also really lucked out with my random country generator because I got Japan. And I don't know if that's just, like, my birthday luck kicking in, but I'm not going to knock it. So I get to read some manga for that as well. And so, yeah, I definitely am looking forward to this month's reads. I think there is still one book that I'm going to have to read that I don't necessarily want to read, and that's always my problem with the Orilium Magical Readathon prompts, is that the prompts always make it so that I'm having to read something that I don't want to read. And I don't know how that's going to work out for me, but I'm going to give it a go. And like I said, this is my last Orilium Magical Readathon, like, classes for the Master of Elements career. So I'm looking forward to my reads for the rest of the month. I'm going to take you along with me throughout this journey. Hopefully I'll be a little better at updating than I have been lately, but work has been crazy. My new department has opened, even though the things with my position moving into that department have not been taken care of yet. And so things are still rocky. I am still in a transition with that, and it's not the most comfortable of transitions either, because nothing's really changed for me. At this point, I feel like I'm just taking on more work, which is not what I wanted, but it's only temporary until they find a solution, which, I'm sorry, they've had 3 months to figure this out and they still haven't done it. So I'm a little bit peeved about that, but it is being worked on now, like, seriously. And so, yeah, we had some of the higher ups get together and discuss what's happening with some of the things that I do so that I can fully move into my new position. And so that was real good. I'm also back to a 5-day work week. So, yeah, I've been on 4-day work weeks for 15 years. Obviously working more hours on 4 days and then having that extra day of rest. But now I'm working less hours over 5 days, less hours during a singular day, and then spreading my hours out through 5 days. So I haven't really been successful in getting off of work early, but I have been getting off work earlier than I had been. So I still need to try to dial back my hours during the singular day. Eventually, once everything that I'm no longer supposed to be doing because of my transition to the new position gets taken off of my desk, it'll be a lot easier for me to dial down my hours. But at this point, I'm still doing more hours than I should be every day, which means I'm doing more hours than I should be during the week. But with this new transition, I've also gone back to being salaried. So that means I don't get overtime anymore. So, yeah. Things are just in a really weird position right now, but I'm not going to let that get me down. Things are definitely moving right now in a good direction. So I'm glad for that. Like I said, lots of things to celebrate this month. New position, hopefully I'll be moved into that by the end of this month. 10-year anniversary, which I don't even know how it's been 10 years since I've been making videos, and my birthday month. So hopefully lots of good things coming out this month, and I think that's where I'm going to leave you here. I think we're going to check out a new arcade tonight, so I'll take you along for some clips of that, and I will check back in with you later.
Hi everyone, it's been a couple of days and I finished a book, so I wanted to let you know what I thought of it. And so I have been reading Wintersong by S.J. Jones. This is kind of a labyrinth-inspired story, like I had mentioned. That is kind of the theme I'm going with for this month, and I've been combo reading this, so I've been listening to chapters during my lunch break, and then I have been reading from the physical book where I left off from my audiobook during the afternoon. And so I actually finished this one last night. This ended up being just a 3-star read for me. So I definitely got the labyrinth-inspired elements. Like I had mentioned, there's a Goblin King. There's mention of the underground. Towards the end of this book, there's a scene where it's kind of like the helping hand section in the movie, where she's like falling into like the oubliette, I think. And you've got the helping hands. At least that's kind of what I pictured during that scene. In any case, I definitely got the references to the movie. So I can see where this is kind of like labyrinth inspired, but there are so many differences with this story. You have a character, she is someone who is the eldest sibling of her family, and she also has talents that are not kind of like able to be released out into the world because of the time period that I feel like the story takes place in. Definitely has like a historical feel. And you know, there is that story where the Goblin King takes her sister and she needs to go into the underground and retrieve her sister, which is very similar to the Labyrinth storyline, right? But there's this whole other portion to the story, and Liesel, who's our main character, is also very musical. Her family is also very musical. So there's a lot of talk about playing instruments and composing music. Liesel is a composer, so you get to see her work through that. And I don't want to give away spoilers, but there's a whole nother section to the story that isn't even like in the Labyrinth movie. It kind of like builds on what you know of the Labyrinth movie if you've seen it. So while I still felt like this was similar to Labyrinth, it is very different. It takes place, I think, in like a German-speaking country, and so there's a lot of German, which I'm not very familiar with. I definitely needed to refer back to the glossary section where it tells you like how to pronounce things and what they mean, which is very helpful. There's also a glossary in the back of musical terms, which I didn't need because I grew up in music. So I think for me, this was probably a more relatable read because, like I said, I grew up in music. I played music for many years. I went to college on a music scholarship. And so music was a big portion of my life. And so I could relate to Liesel and like her brother Yosef and how he was kind of auditioning and trying to get into apprenticeship and things like that. That was all very relatable to me because I have personal experience with that. But for someone who doesn't have any kind of musical background, any kind of touch with musical training at all, even like basic music training, like beginner piano or anything like that, those parts of this story are going to be unrelatable and I think rather boring. Even for me as someone who was very much involved in music throughout all of my growing up years and things like that, I even found some of those kind of very slow to get through, all those sections where Liesel's composing. The playing, not so much. But because this is a book, even with the audiobook, nowadays they're like putting in music, right? You get those dramatized adaptations or whatever, and you get that experience of having the music. This audiobook did not have that. And I always find that when there's music involved in the storytelling, if I can't hear it, that takes away from the experience for me. I get rather frustrated because I want to know what these songs sounds like. And Liesel composes a few pieces of music in this book, and I can't hear them. I don't know what her style is like. I don't know anything besides like the words that are being used to describe, like say the tempo of the piece or why she's using certain like melodic themes and things like that. There was a time where they're talking about how the Goblin King is tuning his violin to certain other keys, and it's just like I can't hear any of that, and it was rather frustrating for me. Another thing that really bothered me about this was that Liesel was not a character that I was really invested in. I didn't like her at all, and I had mentioned in the previous clip that she has image issues with herself, and it carries through a good portion of this book, and I can relate to that. Like I said, I have personal experience. My family kind of, growing up, have always told me that I'm not beautiful. Why can't I be more like my sister? And Liesel gets a lot of that also, so I could relate to all of that. But I'm finding that because I'm like kind of in Liesel's head and she's having all of these thoughts about herself, that I'm having those thoughts about myself again. Like, I kind of have days where I don't feel good about my appearance, and I feel like this book really like brought out all of the bad things about me. Like, it made me look at myself more in the mirror, and I got really like self-conscious about my looks. Like, even some of the thumbnails that I've taken for videos that I've posted recently, there's one in particular that I think, oh my gosh, I look like an ogre. And it's another reason why you will never see me on this channel without makeup. I always feel like I do look better with the makeup, and that's why I wear it. I feel better about my appearance. I think I look better with the makeup, but I think being in Liesel's head really affected my mental health. And, I feel like, and I don't even know why, it's bothering me. I didn't realize how much that bothered me and how much I was like internalizing all of the things that she felt about her appearance and how she has low self-esteem about that, and how much I was honing in on that portion of myself while I was reading it. So I'm kind of glad to be done with this book, to be honest, because I didn't really realize until today that it might have been the book and my reading through it and being in somebody else's head who was thinking about that was causing me to reflect on my own thoughts about my appearance and reflect badly on that and having a bad kind of effect on my personal mental health with that. I've never really read anything that triggered me, and I guess I would consider this being triggered, I guess, by something that I read. And so, yeah, it was a very strange thing for me to come to the realization to today. Because I kept wondering why things about my appearance were bothering me so much over the last week or so. And the only thing is that I've been reading this. So, definitely did a doozy on my mental health. So, I think I'm on the up and up. I don't feel so bad about myself today, though I think I could look a little better, but I didn't put in as much effort as I usually do because I had a meeting. I had a work meeting and I'm like, And I think maybe because I'm seeing myself so much more because of all of the work meetings and being on video and stuff, that also didn't help, because I'm seeing myself and I'm like seeing everybody else, right? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I could hide. But hopefully now that I'm done with this book, all of those thoughts will slowly go back to where they were and I won't be so affected. But yeah, it was kind of a different thing for me because, like I said, I've never been triggered by anything I've read before, and I feel like that was a trigger, even though I don't know that anybody else would be triggered by that. But in any case, the thing that bothered me the most about this story was Liesel. She is the person who's telling you this story. You're seeing everything unfold through her eyes, and I just did not like her. I think if we had seen this story through the eyes of the Goblin King, I would have been much more invested. In any case, there is a second book, because this is a duology. I do have that second book, and I will be continuing eventually. I just don't foresee myself jumping into it right away. I might, like, later in the year and see. I just don't know where this story is gonna go. And I can't really, like, give specific examples because it would be spoilery. I will just say that there's more to what you know of the labyrinth. Like, you see the touches, but there's so much more that happens, say, after what happens in the movie that has been created for you with this book. And so I just don't understand, like, what more there is to tell. Yeah, it ended up being a 3-star, unfortunately, and I'm glad I read it. It definitely had the labyrinth vibes, but it just wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. So, because I finished that book last night, I started today The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. This is the first book in the Iron Fae series. I read this 15 years ago, so this is a reread for me. I had actually got it as a Goodreads like giveaway, as like a ebook copy, and the reason that I had applied for it was because at that time the summary on Goodreads said that it was inspired by Labyrinth. And so in this story we have a girl who is a teenager, and her father like mysteriously disappears when she's a kid. And then after all of that happened, her mom moves her to like another state or something like that, and she remarries, and now she has like this younger brother who I think is like a toddler or something. And so they're kind of like just going along with life. She is almost to her 16th birthday when this story starts, and things are happening around her, like weird things. Like, she looked at her best friend and he looked different, and she's starting to see other types of things. her brother's acting really weird. And so that's kind of where I left off. I finished chapter 3 during my lunch break. I definitely see the labyrinth like inspiration, because at the end of chapter 3 you find out what happened to her brother, and it's very much that the brother got taken away to another land. Not necessarily the underground, but this book has to do with Fae, and so we're going to get into that in the next chapter. I don't remember this book very much at all. I remember thinking that when I had read it, I could like see the touches of Labyrinth in it, which made me pick up a physical copy. But I don't remember very much else. I think there might be some inspiration from A Midsummer Night's Dream, at least as far as the characters go, because I kind of remember that one of the characters has a name that's the same as one of the characters in Midsummer Night's Dream, but I'm not very familiar with A Midsummer Night's Dream. And so, yeah. I'm looking forward to continuing with this one. And like I said, I am working on my Orilium Magical Readathon. So Wintersong was for one of my classes where it was a single POV, because all of the story was told from Liesel's point of view. And then the Iron King I'm using for author's debut book. And so I'm pretty sure this was Julie Kagawa's first published book, and so that's what I'm using this for. I've been wanting to get back into this series because I really remember enjoying it, but like I said, it's been 15 years since I read this one. I know I read, I think it's the Summer Passage or something, which is like a 1.5 novella, and then I read the second installment, but I haven't read any of the other ones after that. And I think the first series, the Iron Face series, is 4 books, and then there's like a spin-off series. So I really want to get back into this series. Plus, because I DNF'd the dragon books that Julie Kagawa wrote, the Talon Saga, I'm hoping that this series works better for me. So that's another reason why I wanted to try to read this one again. And like I said, I remember enjoying it, so hopefully things haven't changed and I still do enjoy this one. But again, another Labyrinth-inspired read. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have as far as reading updates go. I feel like I'm doing good with my reads. That's all I have to talk to you about today. I hope you're having an amazing one, and I will chat with you later. Hi everyone, so I realized that I never told you about the new arcade that we checked out. So we had a Chuck's Arcade open near us. It's an adult version of the Chuck E. Cheese arcade. So it's the Chuck E. Cheese franchise, but without the pizza parlor. So more of the like retro video games. They had some claw machines, and they had 2 Funko Funkade machines. And that was kind of my whole draw to go to that particular arcade, was the Funko Funkade machines. You've seen some clips of me winning quite a few Funko things from the Funko Funkade at our local Dave & Buster's in previous diary entries. And so they had 2 Funko Funkade machines, so that's 4 actual like game slots, so 4 people could play Funko Funcade. But my experience at the Chuck's Arcade was not very good. They've been open for about 3 weeks by the time we had gone, and the Funko Funcade machine was not loaded properly. Like, that particular machine, when you play it, you have a chance of getting prizes to fall onto the game field that you can play to win. So it's a little bit of skill, it's a little bit of luck, but in order to win things from that machine, you have to land on the spinner wheel slot for the different size prizes. So there's small prizes, medium prizes, and the grand prizes, which are usually the full-size Funkos. And so pretty much all 4 stations of the Funko Funcades that they had only had grand prizes. And that's because it's the hardest thing to get to fall. It's the hardest thing to land on. It's the hardest thing to get to fall out of the machine is the grand prize. And so because it's the hardest thing to land on, all of the machines had loads of the grand prizes, but the small and medium prizes, which are the ones that are much easier to get, were out. And so I did not know this when I started playing the machine, but I had gotten a couple of small prizes to fall. Only like 1 or 2 of the docks were, or had, I'm not even going to say filled, because there was only a couple of small prizes in the machine. But I was able to get a couple to fall. And then I landed on a medium prize, and that's when I found out that they weren't able to restock the machine. So in talking to the arcade member, or the arcade workers, they were only able to fill that machine if the tech was in. And the tech was only coming in 5 days after I was there. So I had already procced some prizes to fall, but I wasn't able to play for them because they weren't stocking the machine. And I wouldn't even be able to like come back and try to play for them because the tech wasn't coming for 5 days, which basically means that there were no prizes to be pretty much won unless you landed on a grand prize, which is difficult, like I said. So I'm going to give them another 6 months. Let's see if they get their stuff together. They told me, oh, we're new and we don't know how much inventory we're going to go through. Apparently that machine was the only machine that they couldn't open. They said they didn't have any keys for it. But even the claw machines that they said they could open weren't stocked very well. I think I might have shown a clip of me trying to get a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and you can see how low the stock was in that clip. But yeah, I was none too pleased with my experience at the Chuck's Arcade, and I really like to play like coin pushers and things, and they had one. They had the Avengers coin pusher without the collectible cards, which is one that I play to get the collectible cards. So it's not something that I would play without the collectible cards, but they had one of those, and that was the only coin pusher that they had. And so really the only games that I was interested in were the Funko Funcade machines. I did play a couple of the claw machines, and that's pretty much it. So my draw for the Chuck's Arcade is not very high. And so I'm going to give them another 6 months and see if they're able to stock their Funko Funcade machines better in 6 months. And if they are, I'll consider going back more regularly, I guess. But yeah, my experience was not good at all. And so after that, we went to our local Round 1 arcade, which we go to quite frequently. And I was very happy with my experience there, as we always are. And I was able to win a few prizes. But because earlier in the evening my experience was not very good, I didn't really pull out my camera to film. But we did win some prizes, and so I want to share some of the bigger wins with you today. And they are my collection of Jurassic World dinosaur plushes. So this is the Triceratops, and these are Jurassic World branded, and they are also Round 1 exclusive. And so every once in a while, Round 1 has Round 1 exclusive branded items, and this was one of them. So I believe this is a 14-inch, yes, it says 14-inch Triceratops. So I won this out of one of the claw machines. I also have the 13-inch T-Rex. I believe this is 13-inch. Yes, T-Rex with scars is what it says. As you can see, it's got some scratch marks on its snout right there. So I also won this out of one of the claw machines. And they'll have this little Jurassic World plastic patch on the foot. So I was able to win this one. And then I was also able to win my 14-inch blue Velociraptor out of another claw machine. So I was able to collect some dinosaurs for my collection. I will say my experience at Round 1 has always been very good. The workers there are so helpful, so nice. And I'm going to shout out Ryan, Michael, and Andrew for always making our experiences at Round 1 pleasant. They always come around and check on us if they see us, and make sure that we don't need any assistance or help or anything like that. And they're probably never going to see this video, but they always make our experience 10,000 times better than it could be every time we go. So just wanted to send all that positive vibes out there to them in the universe. And so yeah, now I've got these awesome Jurassic World plushes. We were able to play a few other things as well. I spent about the same amount of money at Chuck's as I did at Round 1, and I can say that I won a lot more from Round 1 than I did at Chuck's. So the value for me as a player is also much better at Round 1. But again, that could be luck. It could just be the day that I went. I don't know. But I've been very fortunate every time I've gone to Round 1 that we've hauled quite a bit of the stuffies and things from there. So yeah, I just wanted to share with you my new plushes that I was able to win at Round 1, and I'm going to go ahead and give you a reading update as well. I am now on chapter 19 of The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. This is the first book in the Iron Fae series, so I've got about this much left. It's okay. I can tell you that when I had first read this book, I was reading a lot more books that involved Fae, so I was a lot more immersed into the world of the different courts and things like that, and who the heads of those courts were, and what the courts were about, and the dynamics between the courts. I have been out of the genre for so long that I was having a bit of a hard time getting back into all of the terms and the different characters that we meet, the leaders of the different courts and things like that. I'm getting my bearings again. I am still enjoying this. You know, the questing aspect is always something that I enjoy as well. But I can tell you that from a Labyrinth-inspired perspective, there's not much there. Not much there. Just the fact that her brother was taken, and that's pretty much it as far as the Labyrinth kind of pull goes. And like I said, this was way back when this book was first released, or pre-release, because I did get an ARC copy when I read this. And so the connection to Labyrinth is no longer in the summary of this book, but it's definitely the reason why I decided to go ahead and try to win a copy, because I was a big fan of Labyrinth, and I thought, why not try for it? And that's the whole reason why I did. So I wasn't writing like reviews at the time. I don't know exactly what I thought, and I'm not even sure if I have my thoughts in video format either, because I haven't gone back to look. But I know there's not a written review of my thoughts on this book on Goodreads. But I do remember that it had said that it was like for fans of Labyrinth. And so, yeah, there's nothing really there as far as the Labyrinth thing goes, besides the fact that she finds herself with her brother getting taken away to a faraway land, and she needs to go and get him back. This series kind of has an interesting thing about an additional court. The iron kind of thing comes in, where there's the iron like court, and how the world is kind of being affected by the fact that people in the mortal world are kind of losing the connection to like old myths and legends, and not believing in fairies and things like that anymore. And so the Fae world is kind of dying, but their belief in like science and technology is kind of taking over, and that's kind of wormed its way into the Fae world. And so you've got this other court now of iron, and iron is deadly to the Fae. And so we've kind of been introduced to all of that by the time I am here where I am. And so it's a real interesting twist. Definitely gives like a modern kind of feel to the story. And I am enjoying this a lot more than I was enjoying Wintersong. And so, yeah. And speaking of Wintersong, and what I had mentioned to you in my last clip, I'm definitely feeling much better. I'm definitely in a better headspace now that I'm no longer in the main character's headspace. And so, yeah. So I thought I'd just come on and check in with you and let you know where I was with my reading, share with you my new dinosaurs for my collection, and we are actually gonna head to Dave & Buster's tonight to play some video games. More like coin pushers, but probably more the Funko Funkade. It just depends on what's in the Funko Funkade. Because sometimes if the prizes in there are things that we already have, we skip out on it. But we do enjoy the coin pushers at the Dave & Buster's. And so, yeah, I'm going to go let off some steam there after we eat dinner. And I hope you're all having a great time and a great day. And I will check in with you later. Hi everyone. So I'm here to wrap up this reading vlog. So I did finish The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. This is the first book in the Iron King quadruple series. Iron King 4-book series. Actually, the initial series I believe is 4 books, and then there's one spin-off I believe, which I think might be another 4 books. But in any case, I enjoyed this reread. It has been, like I said, 15 years since I've read it the first time, and the only real connection between this book and Labyrinth is the fact that her baby brother gets taken to another realm and she needs to go and find him. I will say that there's a character that comes up towards the very end of this first book that does give a little bit of the Jareth Goblin King kind of vibe with the way he talks and some of the things that he says. But other than that, I didn't really find any connection to Labyrinth at all. In any case, I still really enjoyed my reread of this. I really didn't remember a whole lot because it has been 15 years. And the fact that I am not really reading a lot of Fae type of books nowadays really kind of brought me back into the world and what I remembered about liking books like this 15 years ago. And I think I really need to explore more of these books now because I did enjoy it. It was a little young for my taste, even though I was older than the target audience 15 years ago when I read this. Even now that I've aged, it did feel quite young for me, but I still enjoyed it a lot. And so I ended up giving this one a 3.5. I had originally given this book 4 stars when I had read it 15 years ago. So it's not too much of a difference, and I really do round up on Goodreads, so it could have been a 3.5 and I just didn't notate it because I really wasn't making any kind of notes unless there was something really that I didn't like about the book. And so yeah, I'm glad that I enjoyed this one. I actually also went on to read the novella that came right after this installment, which was The Winter's Passage. It's book 1.5. And it basically just continues right after where Iron King leaves off, and we follow Megan on a journey to the Winter Court. And so I really enjoyed this. I had a copy of it in my Kindle library, so I read a little bit of it through the ebook, and I also listened to it because the audiobook that I had borrowed also had it included. And so I enjoyed my experience. I probably enjoyed this little novella a little bit more just because I was more familiar with the characters. There was quite a bit of things that happened on their journey, even though this novella was 65 pages or so. But I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the rest of the series. I did also read Iron Daughter way back when. So these 3 books I had read previously. I just never continued with the series, and so had I not been doing the Orilium Magical Readathon this month, I would have probably just continued to the next one and then continued to the next one. And so it's kind of disappointing that I can't do that because I finally kind of found a series that I really kind of am into right now and would continue reading if I could, but the next book doesn't fulfill any of my prompts. And since I've got 8 books I need to read for the Orilium Magical Readathon, I can't just slip it in. And so yeah, still a really good read. I might be able to fit Winter's Passage in for one of my classes, which is a book with romance in it, because there is a kind of, I don't know if you would call it enemies to lovers, because she didn't really know that she is an enemy of the person that she ends up falling for. So it's kind of Romeo and Juliet, I guess. And so yeah, it's not really though, but I could fit it in there if I didn't have a book already slated for it or am able to finish it. That being said, I did start my book for that prompt, last night, but I'm going to save my thoughts on that for the next vlog. So unfortunately, not all of my Labyrinth theme books are going to be in this vlog, but I will continue with the Labyrinth theme through the next vlog. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the books that I have read for the Orilium Magical Readathon so far. We are at the mall, and we have done a little bit of retail therapy today. So before I end this video, I do want to share with you some blind boxes that we have picked up. Okay, so our mall here just opened a Miniso, and they have like Japanese type of products in there, and they also carry some blind boxes. And I've been into a Miniso a couple of times, but I haven't really found anything to purchase until this time. And so I picked up two things from our Miniso. I got this Ocean Baby box. This is like these figural head plush keychains, I think. And there are all of these ones that you can get. There's a hexagonal dinosaur, owl shark, octopus balls, little clownfish baby, swaying penguin, baby ray, little dolphin, and hug the seal. And then there's two secrets, which I think one is a crab. But I'm really interested in the dolphin, the ray, or the shark for this one. And so we'll go ahead and open this one first. This is the first one that I got from the Miniso. Looks like there is a pull tab up here. That was nice. Okay, so I have heard that sometimes these boxes have little cards that tell you what's inside. So I'm going to tilt the box so that I don't know what is in there. And I'm just going to put it down on the chair behind me, or next to me. And so the little bag inside looks like this. And it has the Ocean Baby on the back. So let's see what we've got. I'm hoping for, like I said, the shark, the ray, or the dolphin. I'm not looking. I think this is the ray. Look how cute. Oh, that is adorable. And it is a hard face. So I guess this is kind of like what the Labubus are like. I'm not into Labubu, but this is adorable. And I do believe that is the ray. The one that's on the front of this box. So, yep, it says baby rayfish. So cute. Oh my goodness, I think I do need to have more of these. Daughter is across the table, so I'm going to hand this over to her and see what she thinks. I don't think Daughter's too impressed. I think it's adorable though, and I always have Daughter pick my blind boxes for me because she's got some, I don't know, some superpower or something. She's always usually able to get me or her what she wants when it comes to blind boxes and bags. It's really, really interesting. So I always have her pick my blind boxes for me. But I think it's adorable, and I do think I need to purchase more boxes of that later. So I'm happy with that one for sure. And then the next one I got from the Miniso was the Tato Shark blind box. So these are all different types of sharks. So there's a great white whale shark, hammerhead, tiger shark, and a blue shark. So I'll be happy with any of the sharks. You'll kind of see a theme with the things that I play for at round one and the blind box type of plushes that I go for. They're always like dinosaurs or marine animals, or they're turquoise. So I definitely have like a type of thing that I usually go for. But so yeah, I saw this one and needed to check it out. It does feel like it's a hard type of figure. So there's a pull tab here. Those pull tabs are awful nice. They make a nice like creamy sound. I guess that's what you call it, creamy. Okay, Again, pulling off to the side here. I'm going to put the box down in case there is a... oh, it does feel hard. In case there is a card there that is a spoiler, but it does feel like a hard figure. So, does this have a little notch? Yes, it does. Okay, let's see what we've got. It's yellow. Oh, that's cute. It's the hammerhead. I didn't expect the hammerhead to be yellow because it looks like it's brown on the box. But it does have quite a bit of weight to it. And oh, it's munching on something. It's cute. Let me just check the box and make sure. Yeah, this is the hammerhead shark. So, very cute. And it's little round, and it is flat on the bottom, so it will sit down on the table. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to get more of these also. Very, very cute. And then the last one I actually got from Hot Topic. So I had seen these. Hot Topic was the first store that we went to today, and they had these romantic ocean. And again, they're little figural head type keychains. So there's a glowy, and I'm not sure what that is. Glowy, Nemo, Dolphy, Sharky, Raby, Crabbo, Blobby, and Inky. So I'm hoping for a Raby or a Sharky. So let's see what we've got in here. So he has another pull tab. Very creamy sound. Okay. And this also has one of those bags that are very pretty. Oh, it says baby 3 on the bag. I wonder what that means. Daughter thinks it might be the brand name. But let's look for the pull tab, or the little notch thing. Yes, here. So, here we go. Oh, these are big. It's pink. Inky? It's the octopus one. I think this is Inky. Look how big that is. Oh my goodness. Yes, I believe this one is Inky. And it is one of those ones you can put on your bag. Okay, not the one that I wanted, but still very cute. And it does have quite a bit of weight to it. So I think I do want to collect more of these as well. So, very, very cute. I'm going to hand this one over to the daughter and see if she likes this one any better than the other one. She doesn't look too impressed. She says you can tell that there's a lot of detail in them, but but she says that she much prefers the Ocean Baby series to the Romantic Ocean set. I'm very happy with both, so I think I'm going to continue collecting both and see if I can get the ones that I want at least. I don't know that I collect the whole series, but they're very cute, and so yeah, very happy with that. Like I said, we're at the mall. My mom's working an evening shift. We are sitting down in the food court for a snack. So I got a Dubai strawberry cup from the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory. So we're going to try that. We actually haven't tried one of their strawberry cups before. We have had their Dubai chocolate bar, and I did pick up a couple more because I find them to be the best Dubai chocolate bars that I've tried so far. And so, yeah, we're going to sit down, have a snack, and then we're probably going to go to an arcade this evening because there's an arcade in this mall. And so I'm going to save all of that for the next vlog, but let me know down in the comments below what you've read for the first couple of weeks of September. Are you participating in the Orilium Magical Readathon? If so, what classes are you taking? What career are you going for? And are you into collecting these types of figural bag clips, or are you into labubus? Let me know that as well, and if nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me some kind of ocean creature down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy, and until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.